Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, April 7th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below, and if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games in Major League Baseball for Friday. First up, it's the Miami Marlins taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see Tylor Megill and Edward Cabrera as the projected starters for now, but there is no official lineup for this game. We're going to see that with a few games for Friday, so we could see a pitching change. We saw these starters go at it back on April 1st. It was a 6-2 win for the New York Mets. Tylor Megill pitched well in that game. He went 5 innings of work with 7 strikeouts, only giving up 2 earned runs, exactly what the Mets would look for him in a start like that. While Edward Cabrera struggled with his control, and we know the New York Mets do a good job at limiting strikeouts, so a strikeout-dependent pitcher like Cabrera struggled in that game. He only had 2 strikeouts across 4 innings with 6 walks allowed and 2 earned runs as well. I do think the Mets are the better play here. This is their home opener for Friday, and I do think Megill is the better starting pitching option. Miami Marlins offense has struggled to start 2023. We saw that in 2022 when this is one of the weaker lineups in baseball. So give me the New York Mets here. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Texas Rangers taking on the Chicago Cubs with Marcus Stroman and Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. Marcus Stroman struggled at Wrigley Field last year. He had an ERA above 5 in his home starts with the Cubs last year. But this season, his first start of 2023, he pitched at Wrigley Field against the Milwaukee Brewers, put together a really strong outing. He went 6 innings of shutout baseball with 8 strikeouts in that game. That was a 4-0 Cubs victory. I think Marcus Stroman can put together another strong outing in this game. On the other side, I think the same can be said for Nathan Eovaldi. He gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings with his Rangers debut in that 16-3 Rangers win over the Phillies, but he had 6 strikeouts and he did not give up a single home run, which is really promising to see for a guy like Eovaldi who's had issues with the long ball in his career. We know the Chicago Cubs offensively have been a little bit below average in the team OPS and isolated power numbers against right-handed pitching this year. To me, this sets up as a low-scoring game at Wrigley Field, so give me the under in the Rangers-Cubs. Next up, it's another makeup game between the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. No official lineup for this game, so again, we could see a pitching change, but right now I'm seeing Clark Schmidt and Dean Kramer as the projected starters. Dean Kramer last year faced the New York Yankees one time. He struggled in that game. He went 5 1/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs and a home run, so a 6.75 ERA in those 5 1/3. I do think the Yankees will get to Kramer yet again in this spot. A strong Yankees lineup. It's top 10 in isolated power against righties thus far, top 5 in team OPS. So I do think, the Orioles bullpen and the starting pitching, a little bit suspect to start the year. I think the Yankees get to them. I do think the Orioles will put up a fight offensively themselves, so I do lean towards the over. But when this game's all said and done, I think the Yankees offense just too much. I think they have the better bullpen overall, so give me the New York Yankees on the money line. Next up, it's the Cincinnati Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies, another makeup game for the Thursday postponements we had in the MLB. Now, Hunter Green and Zach Wheeler are your projected starters for this one. Both guys looking for bounce-back starts after rough outings in their first starts of 2023. And I do think Hunter Green getting away from from Great American Ballpark, going to Citizens Bank Park in this one will be in his best interest. We saw him in 3 1/3 against the Pirates, give up those 3 earned runs and the home run as well. He walked 3 batters also, but he had 8 strikeouts, so he was able to miss some bats and earn some strikeouts. And I do think he'll pitch well in this spot at Philadelphia. On the other side, Zach Wheeler struggled in spring training. He was not his best in his first start against the Rangers, giving up 5 total runs. 4 of those were earned, but he did have 7 strikeouts too in 4 1/3 innings. So both guys were able to rack up the strikeouts. I do think we're going to see both of these starters sharpen up in their second outings of 2023. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game, so give me the under in the Reds-Phillies. Next up, it's the Seattle Mariners taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Logan Gilbert and Aaron Savali on the mound for this one, a rematch between these two who pitched not too long ago back on April 1st. That was a 2-0 win for the Guardians as Logan Gilbert, although he pitched pretty well in that game, 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, he took the loss because he gave up 1 home run. It was really just one mistake pitch to Josh Naylor, a curveball right down the middle, a home run for Naylor, and that was all the offense that the Guardians needed in that game. Aaron Savali pitched well in terms of the earned runs. Obviously didn't give up a single one in 7 innings of work, but he only had 3 strikeouts, and it did seem that the Mariners were starting to get to him as that start continued, so I do worry about that in a game like this where, Logan Gilbert, although he made that one mistake, he was pretty sharp. Otherwise, he was striking out guys. And I was a little bit concerned going into the season for Logan Gilbert, but I have to say, I do think his secondary pitches have gotten a lot better, at least just in the first start we saw him in. I do think the Mariners are also, as a team, just getting better. We saw them have a little bit of a sluggish start to the season. I do think their bullpen's getting a little bit sharper. The lineup's starting to pick it up. And I do think, I think the Mariners are going to be able to get to Savali in this one. I think Gilbert puts together a quality outing. So give me the Seattle Mariners at plus money here on the money line. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Minnesota Twins with Jose Urquidy and Sonny Gray as your starters. Urquidy struggled in his first start of 2023, gave up 7 base hits, 3 earned runs, and 2 homers to the Chicago White Sox. Now, luckily, his offense backed him up in the later innings in that game, and the Astros went on to win it 6-4. But I do think Urquidy has some concerns going into this start against a solid Minnesota Twins offense. And although I do think that Urquidy will give up a few runs, I'm not necessarily too confident in Sonny Gray's game either in this one. Sonny Gray pitched well in his first start of the season. He had 5 innings of shutout baseball against the Kansas City Royals, but he also walked 4 batters, gave up 3 base hits and only 1 strikeout. So the base runners were there and the mismatches weren't there. So that's a little bit concerning against a Houston Astros team, one of the best lineups in baseball, even though at the end of the regular season last year they were struggling a little bit against right-handed pitching. They've certainly put together a good offensive campaign thus far in 2023. So I think both of these starting pitchers could be in trouble, especially I think there's going to be a lot of base runners on in this game. Plenty of runners in scoring position opportunities for both teams. So I'm going to take the over in this Twins-Astros ballgame. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates with Rich Hill and Lucas Giolito as your starters. To me, this is not a very good matchup for the Pittsburgh Pirates in the starting pitching department. I got to say, this Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen has been a real big surprise to start the season, one of the weaker bullpens in the majors last year, but so far, at least going into Thursday, they had a sub-2 ERA in the bullpen. So for me, I'm going to isolate this game to the first 5 innings. I think that's where the White Sox have the biggest advantage. Their bullpen has struggled at times this season. Lucas Giolito, I do think, is the better starting pitching option in this game. He was pretty solid against the Houston Astros after a rough start in the first couple of innings against the Astros. He winded up going 5 innings, giving up only 2 earned runs and 6 strikeouts in that game. And Rich Hill struggled in his first start with his new team, giving up 3 earned runs and 2 homers in 5 innings of work against the Cincinnati Reds. He took the loss in that game. Although he missed some bats, he had 7 strikeouts. I just don't trust most lefties against this White Sox lineup, especially in the last couple of years, and especially when that lefty is Rich Hill. So I do think the White Sox get to him early. I think they have the lead at the end of the first 5 innings. So give me the White Sox laying a half a run in the first 5. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the San Francisco Giants with Brad Keller and Alex Cobb on the mound. I think this is a pitching mismatch in this game. Alex Cobb, I think, is one of the better, more underrated starters in the National League going into this season. He pitched well against a very tough lineup in the New York Yankees in start 1 of 2023. 3 2/3 innings, 6 strikeouts in that game, only giving up 1 earned run. Brad Keller also pitched pretty well in his first start of the season, but he had 4 walks and 4 2/3 innings, 5 base hits as well. He is known to give up a lot of base runners and a good amount of home runs as well. And I do think the San Francisco Giants can get to him enough, and then also add a few runs on this Royals bullpen, which has also struggled to start the season. So give me the San Francisco Giants behind Alex Cobb. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Ken Waldichuk and Zach Eflin on the mound for this one. A lot of people are saying after the Rays swept their first 2 series of the season that the Rays are right now a World Series contender and certainly a contender in the American League. I'd say they're a good team, but I'd say slow down a little bit. They've only played the Detroit Tigers and the Washington Nationals to start the season, so now they get a real test here with the Oakland Athletics going to Tropicana Field. Should be, another series where the Rays have a good chance of sweeping. I think they take this first game as well. Zach Eflin pretty good in his first start with the Rays against the Detroit Tigers. He got the win in that game, had a lot of run support in that one against Spencer Turnbull. The Rays scored for him early, so he only gave up 1 earned run and 5 strikeouts in 5 innings. On the other side, Ken Waldichuk struggled in his first outing of the season. I do think he has a lot of potential, but not quite ready yet. He went 5 2/3 innings against the Angels, giving up 9 base hits, 6 earned runs, and 3 homers. The Rays are hitting the ball very well against both righties and lefties. I think they get to Waldichuk and the Oakland A's bullpen in this one, so give me the Tampa Bay Rays. Not a lot of value in this one because the Rays are big favorites, but I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Atlanta Braves. No official lineup for this game quite yet, as we do not see a starter listed for the Braves, but we should see Nick Martinez going for the Padres in this one, and that's enough for me to take the Braves here on the money line. You know, Nick Martinez struggled in the World Baseball Classic, and he struggled in his first start of this season. He went 7 innings, and he had 5 strikeouts, but he gave up 4 earned runs, 6 base hits, and a home run in that game against a Rockies lineup that we know is not as strong on the road as they are at home. Now you're facing one of the toughest lineups in baseball in the Atlanta Braves, who are off to a great start in 2023 offensively. I think they get to Nick Martinez early and often, and the Padres bullpen has also struggled. When you look at their numbers going into Thursday, they're 4th highest in bullpen ERA at 5.95. Give me the Atlanta Braves here on the money line. Next up, it's the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to see Jack Flaherty and Brandon Woodruff on the mound for this one. Two teams that are in different directions than I expected going into the season. I thought this was going to be a little bit of a down year for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the Cardinals were the favorites, pretty heavy favorites to win the National League Central. But now we see the Cardinals at 2-4, the Brewers at 5-1, and they just swept the New York Mets, the reigning NL 100-game winners. Although they didn't win the division, they won 100 games last year. The Brewers are playing pretty good baseball, especially offensively, where they're scoring runs left and right. And now you have your second best starter on the mound, Brandon Woodruff, who last year pitched really well against these St. Louis Cardinals. He faced them for 15 innings with 16 strikeouts, only giving up 2 earned runs across those innings with a 1.2 ERA, an opponent's batting average of 204. I think Woodruff can put together 5-6 strong innings in this one. On the other side, Jack Flaherty is somebody that I was looking to fade quite a bit at the beginning of the season this year, as I just don't think his control is where it needs to be, and we saw that in his first start. Although he gave up no hits and no earned runs, he had 7 walks in that game against the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't think it's going to bode well on the road here at Milwaukee, a lineup that's playing very well, and the Cardinals' bullpen's also been suspect to start the season, so give me the Milwaukee Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see Mackenzie Gore and Jose Urena on the bump for this Nationals and Rockies matchup. Now, I know Coors Field overs are one of the more overvalued and really oftentimes public plays in Major League Baseball, and usually we don't see a ton of value on betting overs at Coors Field because the totals are already super high and super steep, but this is a game where you got Mackenzie Gore and Jose Urena. Jose Urena last year had an ERA at 6.14 at home in his 44 innings of work, giving up 7 home runs and a 3.02 opponent's batting average. And Mackenzie Gore last year pitched one time at Coors Field. He went 4 innings, giving up 9 base hits, 8 earned runs, and 3 home runs. Opponent's batting average of 450 in that game with 3 walks and only 1 strikeout. Young pitchers at Coors Field have not really fared too well in recent seasons, and I do think with both starting pitchers struggling at Coors and both bullpens I do not trust at all, I got to go with the over, even though it's already a really steep price. So give me the over in the Nationals-Rockies game. Next up, it's the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Los Angeles Angels. We're going to see Patrick Sandoval and Chris Bassett on the mound in this one. And, Chris Bassett struggled in spring training, went 17 2/3 innings with a 5.6 ERA and only 13 strikeouts. He also was not great in his first start of 2023, going 3 1/3 innings with 10 base hits allowed, 9 earned runs, and 4 homers, no strikeouts in that start. That was a 9-4 loss for the Blue Jays to the Cardinals. And, I don't really like this spot for Bassett as well, especially on the other side, Patrick Sandoval pitching well. His first start of the year got the win for the Angels, and he looked pretty solid in that start. He's facing a Blue Jays lineup that's well below league average in isolated power against lefties and below league average in team OPS to start the year. To me, this is just a bad matchup for the Blue Jays. Even though this is a solid team on paper that's going to win a lot of games this year, I don't think this is one of them. So give me the Los Angeles Angels. I'm going to take them on the money line. And the final game for Friday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, as much as I want to say Madison Bumgarner could get some revenge in this start for the D-backs, I just don't see it. Clayton Kershaw pitched so well in his first start of the season. 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, only 1 earned run. Again, just 1 mistake pitch in that game, giving up the homer. But Madison Bumgarner really was not great in that game against the Dodgers. 4 innings, 5 earned runs, a home run, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. We know his control has been an issue in recent years. His strikeout numbers have really dropped the last few years. The Dodgers are off to a good start this season. I don't think that they struggle against Bumgarner in this one. Give me the Los Angeles Dodgers laying the 1.5 runs. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.